Morning, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining us. We decided to have this webinar. The European Outdoor Group has been following the Accelerated Circularity Project for a few years now. It started in the US, and Petra will explain a little bit about the background of it in a moment. We've been following it for a while, and when the opportunity came to join the project in Europe, we felt that this project offered a great deal of opportunity for our members. It is an activity that is not going to be addressed unless we all do it together. And this project really offered some fantastic opportunities to do that. The list of stakeholders that Carla Magruder, who started the project, has managed to bring together is quite exceptional through the value chain. And in that respect, we, as I said, we really felt it was a fantastic project to be involved with. The project started in Europe last year, and the EOG is on the steering committee. So we're now about to start the trial phase, and we wanted to share more of this work with you and share the activities that are going on, because we thought that this was a really pretty point for you as our members to see how you could potentially be involved. So I'm going to hand over to Petra, who's the manager for the project, and she's going to walk you through the activities so far and how the opportunities for you for the membership as the project goes into the trial phase. So thank you, Petra. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jane, and EOG also for having me today. Yeah, my name is Petra. I'm the program manager of Accelerating Circularity in Europe, and I'm gonna share my screen. I have a little bit of a presentation. So, yeah, my background, I have been in textile and apparel supply chain for quite a number of years. I'm Austrian, I'm based out of Austria now, but I just moved back a couple of months ago to join Accelerating Circularity. Before that, I was in Asia for almost 20 years. I was living and working in Bangladesh, Hong Kong, and China. I was QA, QC, product development, sourcing, buying, so everything that is like on the grounds. I did a couple of textile-to-textile recycling projects in the past already with a Thai manufacturer and also a China one for various smaller brands. And that's also how I know Carla and Accelerating Circularity. And when I heard about that opportunity in Europe, similar to what Jane just mentioned from their side, I jumped on it and I moved back. So the European one, we started right before summer last year. Accelerating Circularity is rather new still. We were founded 2 years ago only by Carla Magruder. I guess some of you or most of you know her. She has been in the industry for 40 plus years, and that's clearly her motivation as well. Knowing the industry so well for such a long time, knowing the impact, understanding that there is infrastructure when it comes to textile recycling already there, but also realizing it needs to be connected. It needs to be facilitated among all these different stakeholders. And that's why she founded Accelerating Circularity to accelerate circularity. So, again, we are looking specifically at textile-to-textile recycling. We understand nowadays when we talk about circularity, it's always about repair, remake, re-commerce, but we only look at textile-to-textile recycling. We focus on post-consumer feedstock materials, given that today our project one we have in the US, the other one in Europe, there is plenty of post-consumer. I get into details then later, because clearly we're also including post-industrial pre-consumer waste, but our focus is post-consumer. That also means that the stakeholder value chain is really big. So we have collectors and sorters. We bring them in right from the beginning to everyone sitting at the table. Collectors and sorters, we have municipalities, we have for-profit ones, we have charities. We also work with brands that have take-back programs. But for us, it is important that it's already collectors and sorters that have been collecting and sorting for a long time already. So they are the experts, but they are maybe not the experts in like sorting for recycling. So we come to that also a little bit later. Then we have the recyclers in the region of Europe. We have the EU 27, we have Switzerland, Norway, the UK, and the manufacturing part with Morocco, Tunisia, and Turkey. So here in Europe, the number of recyclers is big. We have various technologies. We have various capacities. There are different maturity level stages. So it's very, very wide and it's already well established. So we have mechanical recyclers that have been recycling post-industrial for a long time. But of course, post-consumer is a very new challenge for them. We have an equipment supplier on board that has been selling equipment for packaging, thermomechanical recycling also for a long time. But for them, realizing there is textile that can be processed in their machines as well, it's a good opportunity. We work with chemical recyclers here in Europe. We have many of those ones. You probably know all the Scandinavian ones. We have Lenzing, they're part of our steering committee as well. So it's also different input requirements. So it's different technologies and processes. So that needs to be streamlined a little bit. And then of course, we have also chemical recyclers on polyester. We have green for one. You all know green very well, I assume. But then in addition, we have lots of different technologies also coming up in the next 1 to 3 years. Then, of course, we integrate the traditional supply chain. They are highly important. Yarn spinners, extruders, fabric mills, garment factories, being the experts, understanding the characteristics, performance, chemical requirements. So it's very important to have them at the table from the get-go. And then, of course, brands and retailers. So they are absolutely important. They are the ones boosting the demand for recycled content. So for us, it's important to look at end of life, of course. So whatever we're gonna do in our trial phase, we are designing for recyclability. But more importantly for me these days is designing from recycled. So whatever the output materials of the various different recyclers are, they need to come back into the system, into the circular system, and brands and retailers need to design and develop with these kind of materials. Can be fiber, spun into yarn, can be flakes, extruded into yarns. But this, of course, we understand it's highly complicated because it depends on the performance, quality requirements, RSL, color, quantities, and so on. But we feel there is no way around it. So it's absolutely important they come in and work with everyone on this system. So we also talk about commercial scale. So our project moves beyond the proof of concept. So we have seen lots of projects already talking about closed loop. So we want to specify it a little more. We talk about closed loop, small circle. So usually you have a brand, you have a recycler, you have the supply chain, and then you prove the concept by 200 kilo output, 200 pieces for a capsule collection, just as an example. We want to move beyond that towards mainstream. For us, that means different things. So we have a number of different stakeholders. We have a number of different companies joining our trials. We look at a number of different yarns, fabrics, and products. So that's also commercial scale. And per category, per yarn, garment, whatever it's going to be, we at least want to meet the MOQ determined by the particular value chain holder. So that's going to be very important because it's definitely a lot of discussion and negotiation required within these groups to really consolidate, to understand what can be done, what needs to be done to come to these quantities. So that's in a nutshell about the project. As I said, we were founded only 2 years ago, so our team is very small. So right now we cover the US, We've got a small team in the US that they are ahead of us. They have started with the trials already. Jane mentioned we have steering committees. They are the core, the heart of our project, our regions. They are the ones giving us guidance as well. So in the US, we have a good selection of steering committee members. We have GAP, Nike Target. We have Green, Lenzing, Eastman. And in the pilot phase, they started a couple of months ago. So here also Target is taking part, GAP is taking part. In Europe, when we started last summer, we have brought together the steering committee that is a bit bigger than the US one and really represents the entire value chain. So we have collectors and sorters, we have various recyclers, we have brands, Inditex and Zalando come in. We have organizations, then GIZ and WWF and EHG, of course. So within these steering committees, we meet once a month, and it's really about, they are the experts, they're really guiding us and making sure that we are accountable to what we say we're going to do. So this is our methodology. As an organization, of course, we have a lot of working groups, focus groups running. It's a lot about presenting, discussing, setting the stage as well, how we see a circular system could work. So we spend months of meetings within the different groups on researching, mapping, modeling, linking. So we had in these various working and focus groups, we had 80 plus companies joining regularly. We were going through content like a waste hierarchy in the EU. Of course, it's very particular. We have to follow the EU waste hierarchy. But what does it mean and translate into the sorting fractions that are actually required for high quality recycling? How does this match up? It doesn't at the end of the day. So there is already an imbalance there. So, but how can we see this bottleneck now? How can we understand it and really turn it into an opportunity? What are the different output materials coming from the various recyclers? What kind of products we can do? And what about traceability as well? We understand that there needs to be systems as well, different kinds of platforms. There are different solutions in the market nowadays. So it's really bringing everybody together, understanding, being agnostic to different solutions as well, because we highly believe we cannot only follow one solution. We really have to see what's available, existing, and what can be done. So this phase of more the theoretical part has completed. We have finalized already all these working group meetings, and we are now in the
¿saben? Que no sé cuál es tu plan de domingo.
Yeah. So, Jane, I can't hear you now.
I've muted everybody, including myself.
Yeah.
There we go.
I think you did. Okay, so that phase, I'm gonna get back. So that phase of discussions is completed, and we are going into a trial phase. Jane mentioned it already. The focus of our project is definitely the trial phase, where we, given our backgrounds, as I said, Carla has been in the industry for a long time, myself too. So we're very hands-on, and I think also very practical. We want to pressure test the system. That's super important for us. And again, it's beyond the proof of concept. So we are, and I have to switch the slide. We are starting our pilot phase by mid of April. We have already a good number of value chain partners signed up, collectors and sorters from various regions. So we have a Bulgarian one, we have one from Holland, we have somebody from Switzerland, we have Spanish ones. So really all across the region of our scope. We work then with a number of different recyclers. Again, mechanical cotton, we have plenty of those ones on board, which, yes, they all mechanically recycle cotton, but again, their capabilities is very different from each other. So I think that's also very interesting to understand what people already can do. The equipment supplier, thermomechanical polyester, chemical cellulosic, so Lenzing is definitely on board because they're part of the steering committee. But then in addition, we also talked to 2 or 3 more. As you probably are aware, the Scandinavian ones, they're highly busy in the next 1 or 2 years. So they are looking into capacities right now. And chemical polyester, definitely green. But in addition, we have most likely 1 more coming, maybe 2 more. So the pilot phase for us, pressure testing the system, means that we want to mimic a regular cycle, meaning that we do want to have, of course, a preparation phase, if possible, a product development cycle, and then bulk production cycle, meaning that the pilot phase is going to take 1.5 years for sure. So we have, what else? So we're going to start off in April. The format, we're going to work then in workshops. How we're going to bring everybody together, that's still to be seen. Now that we are in the transition phase, talking and campaigning still to a lot of our working group members, and especially brands as well, that will understand, and by April, how we're going to form. Just as an example, in the US, they are forming workshops as per product. So it's about a t-shirt workshop, it's about a denim workshop, it's a home textile workshop. Here in Europe, probably we're going to do slightly different, but that fact is we're going to have monthly workshops for the beginning, the first few months for sure. And then once we go into the product development phase, most likely we're going to have meetings every 6 weeks. So today we have around 30 companies already signed up for the trial phase. So that's a good number, but we still miss brands. We have Inditex and Zalando. In addition, we have some of your peers as well. We have Vaude and Oberalp Group who signed up as well. We have Simpletex, and I think I've seen somebody from Simpletex. We have also still a couple of conversations with casual fashion brands ongoing, and hopefully we can pull them in. Again, it is super important for brands to join because the demand needs to be boosted, that's for sure. So for us, of course, we want to take that opportunity to also collect data along the way. What does that mean? We always talk about the triple bottom line. We definitely want to understand the economic viability. So people, of course, want to have a business case eventually. I want to be very open. It's most likely not going to look too great in this first round. But I think that's exactly why we need to do it. We need to understand not only theoretically where the bottlenecks and the challenges are. There is one big one, it's called pre-processing. But then, of course, we need to understand where we need to work much harder and deeper in it to improve for round 2. So then, of course, we want to collect data on environmental aspects as well. It's not going to be an assessment also in the first round because we need to collect primary data first, especially on steps like collecting, sorting, and pre-processing. That is just not available to date. And then socially as well, we have 1 or 2 organizations that are helping us also to set up, advising us what data to collect in terms of social impact. So we're gonna come out with reportings. We're always gonna report back to the industry and of course to our stakeholders along the way. So we of course set targets as well with the help of our steering committee. So Jane had the opportunity to vote for it as well. And you can see already the volume targets is quite big. Our plan is to collect and process 50 tons of cotton, 50 tons of polyester. So right now we only split it out like that. We're not looking at cotton, polyester, like at least not for the targets. Eventually, of course, yes. but to have a bit of understanding what volumes we would like to collect. As an example, the US, their initial target was around 50 tons collected materials. They're already exceeding that. So the guidelines in terms of recycled content per yarn fabric, we want to hit 40% recycled blend, out of which 20% is to come from recycled post-consumer. Here, of course, we need to see the technical and the quality, the technical feasibility and the quality. If we understand that this is going to be an issue, we still need time to develop, then yes, of course, we can lower. But if it is possible to go higher, then of course we go higher. So that's just for us as a guideline and for everyone else. We are still going to use post-industrial because there is plenty. For quality reasons, we need to. We are also still going to use flake from PET bottle, but we're going to clearly communicate why we're going to use it, because it is still a quality reason as well. And we want to give also a clear pathway out of that situation, because that's, I guess, for our industry is highly important to really become independent from PET bottle flake. Also, given that the beverage industry has just realized, oh, there is raw material they can use. So the output is also yarns, fabrics, and a physical product. For our working group of brand and retail, in the first 8 months, we were working on what kind of products they can see being made in our trials. Clearly, we have cut and sew circular knits, so it's going to be an array of t-shirts, different yarns, different fabrics and structures, sweatshirts. We are looking into base layers, of course, like rather basic qualities. We can look into polar fleece. So all these categories, we have an understanding now. Cut and sew circular knit, basic denim weights, bottom weights, canvas and twirls, denims most likely, and we can also do home textiles. So that's just, again, a guideline we were working on with the brands and retailers in these past months, but then we're gonna go and work it out in details once these workshops start. Just also to give you an example, in the US, they are working on 18 different yarns. So that's quite a number, also given the quantities behind. So, and in Europe, I guess we're going to be very similar as well. Yeah, no, I guess that's it. Oh, I forgot that question page. Sorry about that, Jane. Let me stop the sharing. Because Jane asked me also to answer, to have like a frequently asked question page. Let me just get this one. So one of the questions is, of course, how can you take part? Just a moment, just a moment.
We've got some questions coming through in the chat box as well, so we can...
Cool. How to get involved? It's actually very easy. You just let me know. So we've spent all this time in our working groups, but that's not a prerequisite to join the trials. So we have, of course, an agreement. It's very lengthy, of course. The most important is that there are questions of everyone that I'm not able to answer today, because it's something. When we talk about circularity, when we talk about circular systems, we all understand, or we believe we know what it means, but it needs to be worked out in groups. And that's the most important for us, to really pressure test what we were discussing, understanding, is this a right way, is this a good way, what does it need, and so on. So by joining our pilots, we definitely give that opportunity. So that's why it's super easy. There is an agreement, of course, in place that we are sending out this week to whoever has committed already. Then we're gonna have I call it like a kickoff party on the 21st of April, and then we go into these monthly workshops. In this meeting on the 21st of April, we're gonna walk through everyone, then again, the entire value chain, laid out who is gonna join, and then we go into the specifics. So the next question I have on my sheet is timelines. As I said, we want to mimic, if possible, a regular product development cycle. And then a bulk cycle, meaning that depending on the capacities, it's going to last 1.5 years. So we are expecting June 2023 to be complete with all the different trials. But then, of course, it depends on the capacities of the value chain partners. We understand that brands always have a buying calendar. We will not be able to hit all the different dates that all the different brands and retailers are going to give us. So we need to really compromise on certain things. We need to make sure we work together on, if we want to have a sample yardage, we know how many yards everybody needs, and then we're going to share. So we can't really meet everybody's dates on the different buying calendars. That's going to be very difficult for us. The expectations, especially brands, because of course I hear this question also a lot. We have worked out an overview of the different responsibilities, the different steps, but then again, and we can share this also later after the meeting, clearly that is something that we see from the US, that we see coming from supply chain, needs to be done by every stakeholder. So we have one understanding for collectors and sorters that includes also a bit of the timelines for the recyclers and brands. So for brands, I always compare it, if you onboard a new supplier, that always means more work for everybody. It means more work for the design team, the product development team, the buying team, for the technical team, because there is a lot of training involved and 5 times measuring and whatever. So I compared a little bit to onboarding a new supplier in that sense. What are the costs? We have for collectors, sorters, and recyclers, they come in with in-kind contribution. We have that opportunity to subsidize certain steps when it comes to logistics, for example. We have, of course, recyclers, and their materials are still very expensive. We have that opportunity to subsidize from our side. We have some fundings as well. For brands and retailers, there is a little bit of a membership fee. We can share this also later, Jane, I guess. We have, according to the turnover, a small fee which needs to be paid per year. And here, because of EUG being part of our steering committee, we're happy to offer a discount of 40% to the membership fee. So that's it in short, I guess. So I'm clearly open for a discussion, for questions. We also hear a lot about, okay, what's the output, what's the outcome, what's the impact? Output is clear, it's a physical product. Outcome, yeah, we definitely want to reduce virgin fiber. We want to make an impact in the industry. We understand, especially when it comes to polyester, beverage industry is going to grab a lot of the materials going forward. The impact needs to be seen. We all talk about circularity, that it's better than linear systems. But do we know that? We don't really. That's why it's so important that we reach a certain scale. We have a lot of different participants from different sides of the value chain, and really measure it and evaluate along the way. Thank you.
Right. Well, thank you, Petra. That's a brilliant overview. And I hope that people see that there's some really great opportunities. As I think I said when at the beginning of the webinar, for the EOG, we saw we work with lots and lots of different groups and organizations and industry, parts of industry. Everybody's working in different aspects of circularity. This project brought together such a incredible range of stakeholders through the value chain. And it was an opportunity to certainly not reinvent the wheel and join something that was well formed, that could have for us, what we felt was probably the best opportunity for really big impact, rather than just doing something in isolation. So we know that obviously brands joining this project is a big part of it, which was why we wanted to share it with yourselves. I know that what are the other parts, Petra, that you're missing from the supply chain? Obviously brands and retailers are a really key part. You're also keen to connect with processors as well. Is that my understanding as well? So not so much the polymerization, but the spinning.
Extrusion, the spinning, yes, exactly. So here, and I see also a couple of questions, and maybe
I thought we can lead into those, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so brands for sure, because we definitely believe in it. I mean, it's super important. I think there is really no way around it. For us, it's an interesting process as well, because from the working groups of brand and retailer, we had 30 plus brands and retailers joining our monthly meetings. Now it's like, oh my God, it's really complicated. It touches upon every department. We need to visualize things. We need to work very differently. So that's complex. We understand that. So I'm not sure if I've mentioned it, because I had a very similar presentation in the morning already. So maybe I'm repeating myself now. But for us, it's a couple of ways. It's designing for recycling is important. We need to turn off the tap, that's for sure. But for me personally, designing from recycled is really getting more and more important, because we understand there is output and it needs to go back into a system, and we need to make use of that. So this is the mindset that we definitely need from the brands. And we've also coined the term designing for flexibility, which clearly needs to be there as well. There are certain things that will come out over the course of these trials. It's quality, of course. We are testing on RSL. We are working with third-party labs on it as well. We're benchmarking now. We're hopefully working with a platform, an AI platform on RSL as well. So there are different things that we are gonna do, and that is definitely helping then eventually the wider industry as well to feed back what's out there right now, what are the legacy garments, what can we do, what needs to be done. So designing for flexibility is important when it comes to certain quality aspects, when it comes to color outcome and so on. So extruder, yes. So we have these fantastic recyclers in the region. We have green, we have Cure, everybody is growing like crazy. So there is no shortage of feedstock, but they are of course very specific what they can do. They need to have access to it. And then in the end, there is an output. Whatever the output is going to be, it's monomer or it's already a polymer then again. And if we talk about textile-to-textile recycling, it has to go back into supply chain. And we have supply chain in Europe. It's not short of that. But clearly, it's an issue also for a lot of them because of quality issues. That's why we're bringing in a university as well that is going to work on certain testings for us initially. So by connecting and facilitating and bringing this all together at that scale, that's very important to us.
Now, I think so. There's two things that I think we can pick up from here is that from opportunities for brands to join, there are the opportunities that I hear quite regularly. It's and certainly with regards to the you mentioned green, and our members will be familiar with it from the Demito project. There's the opportunity to supply feedstock, but what this project is about, the feedstock is one aspect, but it's about more than that. It is about the whole part of the chain. So it is taking back the output of this project and putting it back into your supply chain is very much part of it as well. And to that end, we've got a question about how Asia fits into this, and if we have any ideas about establishing this sort of project, if I'm getting this right, within Asia, because obviously an awful lot of the textile suppliers are in Asia, but obviously I'm guessing you're going to say a lot of the feedstock is in Europe. And as you say, obviously we've had the project in the US, we're now in Europe. I mean, how do we see any ideas to how we bridge that gap?
Yeah, this is definitely going to come.
I mean, that goes back to the extrusion as well.
No, exactly.
That technology, yeah. And I know we've had that conversation. So
yeah, and for sure we would like to really link it up sooner or later. As I said, we're still very young as an organization, at least. We are very small, but we are starting already to really reach out to other regions as well. We have this is important. There is infrastructure. It doesn't mean that just because circularity means a loop that may be regional. Our industry is highly globalized, and there is infrastructure, and that needs to be connected. So for the sake of the project, we have a scope, which is the region of the EU 27 and whatever I was mentioning. But going forward, yes, we're already trying to understand what are the input requirements of other recyclers, or at least what comes out, how can we feed it in across the regions as well. We are also going to work as an organization. We're going to work not within the project, but separately. We're going to work on a waste flow study, also understanding when we look at all the collectors and sorting, exporting the vast amount of whatever they collect and sort. So how do we understand the flows into importing countries according to their capabilities to process these materials, according to their needs also. I was just this week in a webinar with GSET in Cambodia. They are running a project on post-industrial within Pakistan, Bangladesh, Cambodia. And clearly the recyclers that have started to set up there, they are good with their post-industrial, but they are also well aware that there is post-consumer, and eventually it could feed into their systems as well. And then these are the ones that are very close to the traditional supply chain. So clearly, yes, that's definitely our future vision as well.
Brilliant, thanks. And I mean, there's a question with regards to how certainly from an EOG perspective and our activities, and hopefully I've addressed that in terms of, I said that we felt that this project really offered the best opportunities to explore, to successfully explore the, as I said, all the barriers, the blockages in the system, and bring together, because it is such a big, complicated system, where, from the collection through to the and having everybody together in one place, having these conversations has been a really, really great starting point. Are there any other questions? I said that we've had those a few in the chat box. Feel free to just unmute yourself now. In fact, if I might risk. Yeah, if people
we have a question still from Charles. He had two questions.
Oh, about warn again, do you?
Yeah, because I would like to answer the warn again one. Oh, yes. Actually. They're very close with us, and they're gonna take part in the project, but more as first of all an advisor, but also understanding or learning, or with the help of everybody, understanding what they need to do going forward, because they are still, even though it's been there for a number of years already, but they don't have output yet to bring into our projects. But nevertheless, they are part of it.
Brilliant. I hope that answers your question, Charles. I think you should be able to unmute yourself now, but if you'd like to either raise your hand or unmute yourself, then please go ahead, and we'll try and answer any other questions you may have. No, lovely, great silence. Said I know I get the feedstock, donating feedstock is is one of the questions that that tends to that comes up an awful lot from brand perspective. And I know that people have been interested in the Demito Green project, and obviously that Green are part of the steering committee as well. So for people to understand that link and relationship. But any other final questions?
Yes, this is Nicola from Salon. My question is, how does it articulate with other European or worldwide initiatives? I know there is some from the SKIRT program, from textile to textile, with CETI and this kind of organism. Do you have more views on that?
Yes, sure. So we have this particular one. So SETI was coming into our working groups as well. So we are in regular contact with them as well, just yesterday then again. They are working on, the way I understand, it's more like a platform to test out different things. They are using equipment from the particular equipment supplier that is taking part of our trials anyway. So it does, you know, everybody's connected with each other. So it goes really well. We have also in the SKIP project, I think circular fashion is also part of it. They are also taking part in our trials, for one, giving workshops on designing for recycling and really having a product check. On the other hand, with their identifier, that would be an option also to test out. Plus they're working on the scanners as well for sorting. So we have one sorter, collector sorter, TextAid. They are testing out their equipments already. So yeah, it does go along for sure. Mm-hmm. I think the difference in our project is we're really trying to have a variety of different things. So we are not focusing only on cotton or cotton polyester. It's really a variety of different things. So when I look at the yarns from the US, it can be very complicated even, because it's, you know, one example, we have the output from chip, PT chip, that does not necessarily need to go into an extrusion, but of course that what we are striving for as well. But mechanical recyclers that are then making yarns, cotton polyester, they are also buying bottle flakes to chop it up and then spin it in with their cotton. So we are trying now also to have these links set up by, we have the polyester chip coming out of chemical or thermomechanical, and then it goes back into the mechanical one, and they're using it as a raw material. So by really understanding the different ways what can be done and not being too straightforward, but still making products that are rather basic and nothing crazy, to be able to push it forward and make use of a lot of waste and things that brands usually have in their collections anyway. That's what we are aiming for. It's really the width and the depth of the value chain.
Brilliant. Any other questions? Do feel free, just unmute yourself and ask. And so we will share this webinar afterwards, and I'll share with Petra, you're happy, I'll share your email address, and anybody else who's got any questions or membership and questions, EOG membership questions, how those two relate together, then please then also contact myself, and we can explain how it all works together. So okay, well, if there's no more questions, we'll end it there today. And as I said, please do get in contact if you want to know more, and say thank you to Petra for that overview, and hopefully you agree with us that it's a great opportunity and great project. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and thanks, Jane.